It's the fourth day since I was hospitalized after a car accident. My daughter, Karen, visits me almost every day after school. Hey, Karen, did you tell your dad about me?
Yeah, I told him. Hasn't he come to see you yet?
Despite his wife being in the hospital, my husband Matt hasn't visited me even once. I felt a bit sad about his indifference. 2 days later, it was when Karen came to visit me during her school break.
How awful. You had an accident, didn't you?
Suddenly, my best friend Julia walked into the hospital room. But I hadn't told Julia about the accident, so how did she know? Oh, you came with him. Matt peeked from behind Julia.
I need to talk to you.
Without any concern for my well-being, Matt continued with his own story.
I'm marrying Julia. So, let's get divorced.
He announced it loudly enough for everyone in the room to hear. What? What did you say?
I said, I love Julia. We're getting married, so you need to leave with Karen.
I couldn't believe what I was hearing and asked again, but I still couldn't grasp the suddenness of it all. Julia, what's going on?
It means exactly what it sounds like. I love Matt. Can you let me have him?
Julia's expression was serious. Can such a selfish thing really happen? Ignoring the two fervent visitors, my daughter burst into laughter.
Hey, you two can't get married because.
What Karen said next was unexpected. I'm Lydia Owens. In between work and house chores, I enjoy watching a bit of complicated romantic TV series. Wow, no way. Is this where it ends? Every time the TV series takes a turn, I find myself talking to the screen, even though I'm watching alone. I live with my husband and our daughter, and we have a good relationship with my in-laws who live nearby. We have a harmonious relationship. Unlike the dramatic stories I watch, my life is ordinary and uneventful. Because my daily life doesn't change much, I sometimes wish to dive into the TV series world. My husband Matt is very cheerful and better at sports than studying. He's truly a presence akin to a mood maker. Since he loves being lively and fun, he was always surrounded by people when he was younger. To someone like me, who was relatively quiet and studious, he seemed like a dazzling presence, and I was attracted to him. However, I've come to realize that it's hard to change the beliefs formed in youth. When young, it was very attractive, but now in our 40s, it's a bit problematic that nothing has changed. What I once admired about him has now become a point of worry. Recently, the relationship between Matt and our daughter Karen has been a source of concern. Karen prefers quiet activities over hanging out with friends. She doesn't dress flashy and excels in her studies, always ranking among the top in her high school. Matt, who hated studying more than anything, couldn't understand Karen, who diligently hit the books. It would be fine if he just thought that way, but he couldn't help imposing his views on her.
You're always holed up in your room studying, but a girl doesn't need to study to get by. If you have time to waste on studying, why not work on being more charming?
He would say things like this loudly enough for Karen to hear while she was trying to study.
Dad, not many people think that way anymore. If I don't study, I can't do the job I want. Whether I study or not is my choice, so let me be.
Despite Karen's objections, Matt always had something to say when he saw her studying. Hey Matt, Could you stop interrupting Karen when she's trying to study? It's great that she's so dedicated.
I didn't need to study to make friends or get a job. Playing with friends is more fun, and you'll have no regrets.
Matt was so wrapped up in his own past joys that he wouldn't listen to reason. Karen was getting fed up with how often Matt would intrude.
Mom, how long is Dad going to keep saying those things? I can't concentrate even when I want to study.
I'm sorry. I keep telling him not to bother you while you're studying. No matter how many times I tell him studying is important, he won't listen. As a result, Matt and Karen clashed more often, and I had to play mediator each time. Matt's impositions didn't stop with Karen herself.
Can you believe it? Karen is trying to go to college. A girl like her doesn't need to study.
Even in front of his own parents, Matt stuck to his outdated views and couldn't stop complaining about Karen.
Stop saying things like that just because she's a girl. Nowadays, it doesn't matter if you're a girl or a boy.
Before you criticize others, maybe you should go back and study yourself.
His parents, Robert and Emily, couldn't stand seeing their granddaughter put down and reprimanded Matt for his behavior. When even his parents criticized his views, Matt would sulk.
Why is everyone against me?
On the days when Robert and Emily scolded him, his complaints would worsen, and he'd stop talking to Karen and me for a while. One day, on my way back from shopping, something happened.
Hey, is that you, Lydia? It's been so long. Do you remember me?
Julia, do you live around here now? The person who called out to me was my best friend, Julia, who had moved out of state after middle school graduation. Julia was always knowledgeable about fashion, makeup, and nails, and I secretly admired her. She was the complete opposite of me, who could only study, but we somehow got along and spent a lot of time together. In exchange for teaching me about fashion, I often helped Julia, who struggled with schoolwork, study for tests. After she moved, we kept in touch through letters for a while, but as we both got busier with friends, the letters became less frequent. We had become quite distant, so it was a really long-awaited reunion.
So, I got married and had a kid over there, but a lot happened, and now I'm back here.
Oh, I see. That must have been tough.
Yeah, my husband cheated on me. Oh, by the way, can I come over to your place sometime? I'd love to catch up.
Of course, come over. I'd love to chat. And so Julia and I reconnected, and our families started to interact. Matt and Julia, having similar personalities, got along well and quickly became close. Whenever Julia visited, they would have lively conversations, as if they had always been friends. Julia's daughter was around the same age as Karen, and, like Julia, was very fashion conscious. Every time Julia and her daughter came over, Karen would try to be friendly, but they didn't seem to get along well.
She told me, "It's unbelievable that you're not into fashion or dating." And she said my face and clothes are plain. She's a bit younger than me, but she makes me feel looked down on.
Karen seemed frustrated and would quietly vent to me after they left. Everyone's different, so it doesn't matter what you do. Don't worry about it. I think you're great just the way you are. I tried to comfort her, but Julia's daughter kept bothering Karen every time they met. A while after reconnecting with Julia, the distance between Matt and Julia had noticeably shortened. Julia's daughter was very attached to Matt, and Matt seemed to enjoy it too.
Julia's having trouble with a light not working in her house. I'll go check it out this weekend. It must be tough for her as a single mom. I should help her out whenever I can.
Matt, feeling sorry for her single-parent situation, started going over to Julia's house to help out more often. Julia didn't show any hesitation in accepting his help.
Really, Matt can do anything, and he's so reliable and quick. I'll keep asking for his help.
Julia praised and flattered Matt right in front of me. Matt, enjoying the attention, wasn't entirely displeased. As a result, Matt started mentioning Julia more often and became more engrossed in her. Julia, who used to come over frequently, started visiting less often, while Matt began spending more time away from home.
Dad, don't you think you're going over to Julia's too much lately?
Does she really need that much help? I don't think Julia is completely helpless.
Single mothers have a lot on their plate. If I don't help her, who will?
Both Karen and I were growing increasingly frustrated with Matt, who seemed more concerned with Julia's household than our own. I subtly mentioned our dissatisfaction to Matt, but he didn't change his behavior at all. When he went to Julia's house 3 days in a row, Karen and I couldn't just let it slide. Can you focus a bit more on our family? Julia is just a friend after all.
Dad, I really don't understand what you're thinking.
Matt sighed and said,
I wish Julia and her daughter were my real family instead of being stuck with such dull people.
I never expected to hear such words. I was too stunned to respond. My love for Matt started to fade away. After this incident, our home life grew colder. Conversations between Matt and me became minimal, just the bare necessities. Matt and Karen seemed more distant than ever. It was inevitable. As long as we could live comfortably, that was enough. With that thought, I went out shopping. When I finished and was riding my bike home, there was a sudden loud impact and the sound of brakes. When I came to, I was lying on the ground. There was a lot of commotion around me. I opened my eyes slowly, trying to understand what had happened. My bike was thrown far away, and my groceries were scattered. Oh, I was in an accident. Right after that thought, pain shot through my entire body. I could hear the ambulance sirens in the distance. Enduring the pain, I waited for the ambulance to get closer. Even during the ride to the hospital, the pain made me drift in and out of consciousness. By the time the treatment was finished and I was in my hospital room, Karen had rushed over.
Mom, are you okay?
Oh, Karen, I'm sorry for worrying you. They said I'll have to stay here for a while. I had broken my right leg in the accident.
I'm just glad you're alive. I was so worried. I hope you get well soon.
I felt bad for making Karen worry. I didn't remember much about the accident, but I was truly grateful to be alive. For now, I'll focus on getting better quickly. And so my hospital stay began. On the 4th day of my hospitalization, Karen visited me almost every day after school. However, Matt hadn't come even once. I think he knows I was in an accident and that I'm in the hospital with a broken leg. Maybe Karen didn't tell him because she didn't want to talk to him. Hey, Karen, did you tell your dad about me?
Yeah, I told him. Hasn't he come to see you yet?
No, not even once. But it's okay if you told him. The hospital should have contacted him too.
Dad should at least visit you.
We barely talked at home, but still, as his wife in the hospital, he should at least visit. I felt a bit sad about Matt's indifference. 2 days later, when Karen was visiting me during her school break,
Lydia, how awful. You had an accident, didn't you?
for some reason, Julia, who shouldn't have known, walked into the hospital room. While I was wondering how she knew, Matt quietly appeared behind her. So he finally came to visit, but with Julia. He must be using my hospitalization as an excuse to spend all his time with her. I didn't expect any concern from him, but I didn't think he'd bring Julia along. Oh, Julia, you came together. Then, Matt, who had been silent, spoke up.
Lydia, I need to talk to you.
Without any concern for me, Matt continued.
I'm going to marry Julia. So, let's get divorced.
Karen and I looked at each other, puzzled. What? What did you say? I thought I misheard him, so I asked again.
I said, I love Julia. We're getting married, so you need to leave with Karen.
I couldn't understand what he was saying at all. It was like a scene from one of the TV series I always watch. I realized talking to an excited Matt wouldn't get me anywhere, so I turned to Julia. Julia, what is this about?
It means exactly what it sounds like. I love Matt. I need him. You two aren't close anymore, right? Can't you just let me have him?
Julia's expression was serious. Can something so selfish even happen? Of all people, my husband, a true friend, wouldn't do this.
You're the only one who thinks you're friends.
What? What do you mean?
Right, Julia?
After Matt called out, Julia began to speak.
Lydia, you've always been plain. You never matched my level of style. But you were smart, so I stuck around because it was convenient. Those tests back then, you really helped me out.
Julia saw me only as someone useful, and I was the only one who thought we were friends. Feeling good about belittling me, Julia continued.
Matt and I get along well, and he seems happier with me. I think I'm more suited for him.
With a smirk, Julia whispered in my ear.
And besides, he doesn't seem to have any money problems, you know.
Julia was dazzled by Matt's good salary, pretending to be in need to start an affair with him. She planned to kick Karen and me out and take my place. Matt, completely taken in by her, genuinely fell for Julia. Now that I was conveniently hospitalized, they wanted to finalize the divorce while I was unable to act. Their reckless behavior made me want to sigh. I never imagined something like this would happen to me, like a scene from a TV series. Matt and Julia waited triumphantly for my surrender, while I was troubled by the two excited individuals. Karen, who had been silent until now, started laughing.
Hey, you two can't get married. Dad, don't you know?
What Karen said next was unexpected.
Julia, you're in the middle of a divorce because you cheated, and you're being asked for a hefty alimony.
When we reconnected, Julia had said her husband cheated on her, but that was a complete lie. It turns out Julia was the one who cheated and was asked to leave, leading to divorce proceedings. During the divorce, she was looking for her next financial support and found the perfect target in Matt. Julia planned to get divorced once she secured Matt's promise to marry her and waited for the 6 months until they could remarry. Moreover, she planned to control the household finances after remarrying to cover the alimony for her husband and her affair partner's wife with Matt's money.
That's not true. I really love Matt.
Julia shouted. Still, Karen continued unfazed.
Well, Julia's daughter told me everything. She talked about a lot of things. Well, in the end, my mom and I were mocked as if we were disposable.
Karen had somehow sensed the relationship between Matt and Julia. Predicting it would come to this, she used Julia's daughter to dig up any dirt she could. Julia's daughter looked down on Karen, so when Karen mentioned the potential divorce between Matt and me, she spilled all the family secrets to assert her superiority. Thanks to this, Karen learned about Julia's plan and was ready for trying to make it a trump card for when the time came. Her ability to calmly assess situations and gather information might be due to my consistent efforts in her education. All the divorce and legal knowledge I shared from the TV series I watched seemed to have paid off. Even though she's still in high school, I'm amazed at my daughter's insight and initiative. Julia, realizing her plan had been exposed, frantically called her daughter.
What the hell did you blab about? Because of you, my plan is ruined. I'm left with nothing. I finally found a good cash cow.
Julia started arguing with her daughter over the phone. Hearing this, Matt finally realized he had been seduced for his money.
Ha!
He was so stunned by the sudden turn of events that he couldn't speak. It turned out Julia had targeted Matt because she thought he was rich, assuming he was the president of a company. In reality, Matt just worked at his in-laws' company, but he had acted like he was in charge to impress Julia. Matt's usual jovial and boastful nature had backfired, and all I could do was chuckle at the absurdity. Knowing Julia's entire plan and intentions, Matt panicked.
I'm sorry, Lydia. Please forget what I said earlier.
What words are you referring to?
Karen's calm interjection left Matt flustered.
I lied about wanting a divorce. I just said it in the heat of the moment. It was a lie.
Matt, while slouching, is quietly observing my demeanor without saying a word.
Lydia, are you listening?
Yes, I can hear you clearly. Even if he was deceived, I couldn't forgive him for cheating with Julia. If Matt had used his judgment, this wouldn't have happened. Both Karen and I couldn't forgive Matt. As we remained silent, struggling for words, Matt said,
But you two can't live without my income, right? A divorce would be tough.
His moment of remorse quickly vanished as he threatened us, saying our life would be hard without his earnings. Matt seemed confident that Karen and I couldn't manage without him. We can manage just fine without you, Matt. We'll go ahead with the divorce as you suggested. And I'll be sure to inform Robert and Emily about this.
No, please don't. I'm begging you, don't tell them.
No matter what you say. What's done is done. For now, I asked him to leave and sighed deeply once I was alone in the hospital room. I wondered how the protagonist in the TV series would handle this. But deep down, I already knew my answer. First, I needed to heal my leg. A few days after that chaotic scene, I was discharged from the hospital. Thanks to rehab, I got quite good at using crutches. Even at home, I used crutches to get around, but I could manage daily life slowly but surely. Even after I was discharged, Matt kept begging me to take back the divorce. I remained silent, and Karen would blame him whenever she saw him. Matt seemed to feel increasingly uncomfortable at home and started living in a hotel. A few days later, Robert and Emily came to visit after hearing about my discharge.
Lydia, it must have been tough. Are you okay? I brought these to help out a bit,
Emily said, bringing pre-cooked frozen meals and showing her concern.
By the way, Matt took the day off yesterday. Is he feeling unwell?
Actually, Matt's been living in a hotel. The truth is, I explained to Robert and Emily the whole sequence of events, from Matt meeting Julia to their affair. So he met my old friend and had an affair, then fell in love for real. While I was in the hospital, they both came to demand a divorce and told me to leave with Karen because they wanted to live in our house.
Is that true? What's he thinking?
There's more to the story. I told them about Julia's ongoing divorce and alimony debts, and how she planned to marry Matt for financial support. Matt's mistake was boasting that he was the company president.
Did he really say that? What a hopeless fool.
But trying to abandon Lydia and Karen is something I can't forgive. We need to talk to him, Robert.
Indeed, he needs a serious wake-up call.
So, a few days later, we called Matt to his parents' house for a talk with me and his parents.
You've been cheating, haven't you?
Matt stayed silent, looking guilty.
Not only that, you tried to kick Lydia and Karen out. What were you thinking?
Abandoning your own wife and child is unacceptable.
Finally, Matt spoke.
No, you don't understand. I was just tricked.
He tried to play the victim, claiming Julia manipulated him into seeking a divorce.
If I had known she was after my money from the start, I never would have done this. It's Lydia's fault for reconnecting with her.
Matt wouldn't admit his mistakes. Instead, he blamed me. Seeing this, Robert's expression darkened.
What? Are you saying it's not your fault? You still cheated. And you lied about being the president of the company? I was planning to have you take over, but I can't trust you now. You're fired.
Robert's anger was palpable as he finally disowned Matt.
Matt, you really let us down.
Meanwhile, Emily seemed exasperated by her son's actions and lack of remorse.
I'm sorry.
No, my decision stands. You should be apologizing to Lydia.
Lydia, I'm really sorry. Please give me another chance.
Seeing Matt disowned by his parents, I felt a pang of pity. If I abandoned him too, he'd be completely alone, and my heart wavered. As I hesitated to respond, Emily spoke to me.
Lydia, don't worry about Matt. Do whatever you feel is best. We're on your and Karen's side.
Emily's words solidified my resolve. Let's get divorced. There's no going back.
Please. Can't you reconsider?
No, I've made up my mind. I'll be expecting alimony and child support.
How did it come to this?
And so we decided to get divorced. A few days later, Julia called.
Hey, my husband found out about everything. Now I have even more money to pay. This is unbelievable.
In the midst of her own divorce proceedings, Julia's husband found out about her affair with Matt, raising her alimony. Not only that, but Julia's husband also demanded alimony from Matt. As a result, Matt lost most of his assets to alimony and child support. The scandal involving Matt and Julia quickly spread through our small town, making it difficult for Julia to stay. She soon moved to a nearby town, but struggled to make a living on her own. Having relied on her husband and affair partners, she found it tough to live on her own income. Meanwhile, Matt started a new life alone and found a job in another town. Having often slacked off and taken advantage of the family business, he now faced a harsh reality. His new jobs didn't cater to his whims, and he kept failing. Matt, struggling with both work and personal life, turned to gambling, becoming increasingly addicted. His gambling addiction became extreme. Despite having to pay alimony and child support, he borrowed money to continue gambling. A while after the divorce, Matt called me.
Sorry. I might not be able to make this month's payment. I don't have enough money,
Matt said in a weak voice. I felt sorry for him, but couldn't find a way to help, struggling to find the right words. I heard that he had also called his parents recently.
Dad, can you lend me some money? Just a little. I'm really in trouble.
Unable to manage his growing debt, Matt sought help from me and his parents. However, not only I, but also his parents refused to help, leaving Matt at a loss. I hoped he would escape from gambling and gradually repay his debts. Hoping there was still some diligence left in Matt, I spent my days occasionally hearing news about him through the grapevine. Karen and I continued to receive support and maintain a good relationship with Matt's parents, even after the divorce. Perhaps his parents felt guilty about Matt's shortcomings. However, their kind nature allowed me to lean on their support and find comfort. Karen continued to excel in her studies and successfully got into the university she aimed for. Thanks to my income and support from Matt's parents, Karen is enjoying a fulfilling college life. With the warm support from me and Matt's parents, Karen seems set to pursue her dream of becoming a researcher